Welcome to the Thunder and Lightning Show. Uh, Today, we want to talk about Cardinal Cupich, but first I want to show you my magic glasses that we got from Church Militant. And Church Militant, they can tell exactly what's going on with anyone who was accused, any priest, anything like that. So these glasses are exclusively available if you are on our Patreon tier. The $10,000 a month Patreon tier, and these glasses can be yours, and you can see the truth. You can't find that anywhere. You can't find that at any traditional parish. You can't find it at any Novus Ordo parish. Only at Church Militant through these glasses. And so uh, this is our promotion for the day, and welcome to the Thunder and Lightning Show. And we'll see what happens with if this Wi-Fi is really spotty or not. It's not looking very good right now. But we did want to talk about Cardinal Cupich, and he has not yet restricted the Latin Mass, but there are definitely rumors that he's going to do so. And we have a lot of other things to talk about too. But Ryan, did you get a chance to read Cardinal Cupich's article that he wrote about Traditiones Custodes?
I skimmed the thing and people were lampooning it, but I didn't want to read it because it was just going to aggravate me, and plus I think he's a low IQ individual who's just basically a mouthpiece of the LMNOP branch, the James Martin activities, spokesman for the James Martin wing of the Catholic Church, and the Bergoglianist toadies. So no, I didn't read it. Did you read it?
Okay, he said. Let me see. He said that he talked about the word reform. I mean, what good is that? You know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the word reform references to the Reformation. That's one. That's one way. That's one reference that it has. Has to say here. He talks about Pope John Paul II and obviously everything that happened after Vatican II, and it's really interesting. I think I don't know if I read this article or if I heard this, that at Vatican II, really the ideal for the Mass was sort of like the Anglican Ordinariate, you know, and it's I don't know. I mean, we didn't get what the intentions of Vatican II were. I don't know. Is that what it is?
Well, I think
Intent?
that more or less they sort of did some of the stuff in 1965. 64 and 65, they started to change the missal a little bit. Um, Although I think they probably, even at that time, they were going beyond what Vatican II had called for, because I think by 65 they had stripped out the prayers at the foot of the altar in the last gospel. Some of the stuff was allowed to be in English, and but I mean, what did Vatican II ask for? I mean, it was pretty ambiguous about what it wanted. It did talk about vernacular. It said that you should get rid of all the things that are unnecessary repetitions and superfluous. But then, of course, that was sort of answered recently by Father Jackson, who wrote that book, Nothing Superfluous, who said that there's nothing in the tradition that's superfluous. Everything is there for a reason, and the growth, the development of the traditional Latin Mass was inspired by the Holy Spirit, and it was sanctioned by generations and centuries of Catholics. So I don't know what Vatican II wanted, and at this point in time, who really cares? Because apparently it wanted a Novus Ordo, because that's what the official magisterium, the authorities, have given us. You have Bergoglio and Benedict and the JPs and Paul. They've all said that the new Mass is the product of Vatican II and it's awesome, but the numbers beg to differ, and nobody's really pleased with it. So I think that answers the question. As far as what Vatican II and the new Mass is, it's basically, who cares? Let's move on, and go back to the old mass or turn Byzantine, because that's the only thing left. It's gross. The new mass is just a mess.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Cardinal Cupich said, what did he say? The Second Vatican Council and its reforms are not only an authentic action of the Holy Spirit, but also in continuity with the tradition of the Church. So it looks like not really anyone believes that at this point.
No, I mean, can
But
you just say that, like, what's okay? He said that. How do I know that that's true or false?
what was your question?
I said, Cupich said that. He said that it's an action of the Holy Spirit and it's in conformity with tradition, or whatever he said. How do I know whether that's true or false? How do I know whether Cupich is lying or telling the truth, or if he's deceived or in error?
Well, look at the tradition of the Church, I guess.
So do you use your plain eyes for that? Do you talk to an expert, or read a book?
Yeah, you can do any of that.
Yeah, so there's basically the only people who say, what were his exact words again? He said it was an action of the Holy Spirit. There's no, I don't see how you can prove or disprove that. That's just a bare assertion. And I don't even know what he's basing that upon. I mean, really, because we talked about it before, the new mass is not in conformity with Vatican II. So that's sort of blown out of the water. Now, the second thing, what was the second point that he made?
He said, let's see, the reforms are not only an authentic action of the Holy Spirit, but also are in continuity with the tradition of the Church.
Okay, so continuity with the tradition of the Church. So you would have to ask, what is the tradition of the Church in which that they are in continuity with? Like what? There's a priest who goes up there and wears a vestment and says, this is my body, this is my blood. Well, there's a lot more to the tradition of the Church than that. I mean, there's a big discontinuity between the new mass and the old mass. So, I mean, he's just saying stupid things. It's like just talking points that have no basis in reality. This is why I didn't read the letter, because it's like the ravings of a madman. I could go, who was that guy that said everybody was a lizard person and wrote a manifesto? It's fun to read and laugh at, but I'm not interested in, like, I can't laugh at something that Cupich writes, because the guy's a danger. He's a clear and present danger to the Catholic faith, especially the liturgy in the United States of America. The man's an enemy of the faith. And, okay, we can make fun of him or whatever, but these writings really, he should be put on canonical trial. He should be excommunicated. He should be suspended. He's got to be put out of, deposed from being a cardinal and being an archbishop. He's a dangerous man.
Yeah, well, and yeah, that'll be the end of that, the quotes from Cupich. But there were rumors that he was going to restrict the Latin Mass in his diocese. So far, he hasn't done that. I also saw something about a rumor in Cleveland how they were going to shrink their number of Latin Masses. But
that is true. There was the Diocese of Cleveland released a document that said they were shrinking from 10 to 3 Latin Masses.
Oh, really?
I think there's an SSPX there, so they'll probably pick up the slack. When I heard, this business about Cupich was supposed to restrict the Latin Mass and drop a bomb this week, my response was to quote Jocko Willink and say, good. That's my answer to everything now. Good. Because we called for this liturgical war, okay? Actually, we didn't call for it, but it was foisted upon us. Let's go back, rewind yourselves to July, whenever the forces of the Bergoglianists, Bergoglio himself, with an unprovoked attack, crossed over the 49th parallel or whatever it is, where we had a peace between the forces of tradition and the forces of modernism, and they launched this sneak attack. And so now the air war is getting hotter, and the ground war is getting hotter because these guys are now shooting. And so I say, good. Everybody needs to come to the conclusion that these guys are not our friends. They're not the friends of Christ. They are the enemies of the Catholic Church. They're the enemies of tradition. They're the enemies of the traditional Latin Mass. They are the enemies of the people of God. And so we have to fight them in the air and the land and the sea and the information superhighways of the internet, hand-to-hand combat. We have to fight these forces of the modernists and defeat them. So again, it is a good thing whenever Milosevic, who that's Milesic for those of you at home, who's over there in Cleveland, Milosevic and Tomato Cupich, when they're fighting against the tradition, then it's good because the mask comes off and we see what they are and we don't have to pay any attention to them. Ignore that man behind the screen who's the Wizard of Oz pulling levers or whatever, and just go to the traditional Latin Mass, no matter get it where you can find it, but avoid the nervous disorder and attend a traditional Latin Mass or the Byzantine Divine Liturgy if you can't get to the traditional Latin Mass, and let these guys continue to drink their poison until they end up dying.
Yeah, and actually moving just a little bit away from Chicago Archdiocese, we have Bishop Paprocki. And I see this article was just released yesterday that Bishop Paprocki has decided to, he said that, what is it? He recently said he will deny communion to Senator Dick Durbin, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, because he's a supporter of abortion. And so with, Cupich and we look at the USCCB meeting in just a few days.
Yeah.
And this comes right before that. And I was actually hoping that Cupich would actually issue crackdowns on the Latin Mass before the USCCB meeting, so there might be some discussion on that at the USCCB. But that's not the case. It doesn't seem like that's a priority for a lot of bishops.
Well, for Cupich, it probably is.
Well, but I'm talking about the Latin Mass, like defending defending the Latin Mass doesn't seem to be a priority for really any of the bishops. I mean, maybe a few of them, but
attacking the Latin Mass is a priority for Cupich. He's talking about how he's writing about it now, and it's coming really soon for those of you in Chicago. So get ready.
Well, I think more on the agenda is abortion. Like the bad guys want it, and they're saying don't deny communion to anyone because that's where they have their friends.
That's what they're already doing. I mean, like this USCCB meeting, it's either going to be a war, an open war, or it's going to be a total snooze nothing burger. I mean, it's going to be the kind of thing that you put on to help you go to sleep because they're not going to get in there and fight. Maybe they will. Maybe, God willing, they'll get in there and you'll have Cordileone who will get a spine, and you'll have Paprocki, who's actually good. Maybe he'll get a spine. Maybe Strickland will get a spine, and they'll go in there and they'll try to pass some measures, pass legislation to go after these pro-abort guys, and we'll see actual debate on TV, or maybe they'll fight backstage. We don't know, but 40 years. The Psalm 94. 40 years I endured this generation. They are a people whose hearts go astray. Therefore I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. That's where we are now. 40 years since 1970. And they haven't done a thing against pro-abortion people. Not a thing. And finally now, 2021, and they start to talk about it. I'm not convinced that anything's going to happen. But I wish that something would. But how long are you going to wait? There's now like 40 million, 50 million dead babies because of this thing. And only now they're talking about starting to deny people Holy Communion. This is the time to go in there and throw fists. This is the time for somebody to go in there and punch Cupich and knock him out. Brawl. That's what they should do because the faith is in jeopardy. This week, I sent you and Brett several emails, and one of which, not only just me, it's Father Stephen Imbarato, who basically said the church is dying on the vine. It's basically all over for the mainstream Catholic Church because Bergoglio sold out when he met with Joe Biden and said he was a good Catholic. And now, and I said to you, they're canceling the Latin Mass in Rome. Nobody's fighting against it. Everybody's just, the only people who are doing anything are the people who are going SSPX right now.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about, we'll get to that maybe at the show, that Polish priest who, Dominican, who switched over to the SSPX and wrote an excellent article. This is the time for action. I'm sick of words by everybody. All words. And some of the words are good. Good words.
Yeah.
I like good words. But let's do something. People who can do something, do something. If there's any priests who are watching this, do something. Write a letter. Tell your bishop to his face, you're wrong. I'm saying the traditional Latin Mass. Where's the fraternity of St. Peter? Where is the love of tradition in any of this? Where is it? I don't see it. Somebody who, priests need to do something. Do something, please, priests. Lay people, quit the diocese. Go join the SSPX. Go quit the diocese and go Byzantine. I don't know what you can do. Write a letter, meet with your bishop. But
organize groups.
Yeah.
That's groups. I mean, that's what you need to do. But like, you're talking about people doing something about the Latin Mass. Well, the bishops won't even stand up for pro-life. Like,
no, the dead babies, they won't do anything even for a dead baby. These guys are completely useless. Here's the kind of group thing that you can do. This is very easy. Listen carefully. Everybody get together and sign a pact. Okay, sort of like the Warsaw Pact. Let's call it that. Everybody take a pact, and everybody take their usual money that they would have contributed each week and put it in a bank account, okay? And then in that bank account, you're going to get thousands of dollars and whatever, and you're going to hold that hostage to the bishop. You're going to advertise it to him every time you get an opportunity. Every month, send him a statement. Say, this is the thousands of dollars that you're not getting, pal, because you won't do anything about abortion and dead babies, because you're more worried about eco sins than you are against the sins that cry to heaven for vengeance, which is the dead babies and the LMNOP. Okay? You go worry about your forests and Amazon rivers or whatever, but you're going to do it with no money and no support from any of us, because we've all had it. And maybe that will motivate them. And then at the end of the month or year or whatever, take and write a big check to the SSPX and just say, done with you. You're not interested in the Catholic faith, so I'm done with you. What use are you? You're no use. So anyway, there it is.
I'm sharing on the screen the McCarrick dollar bill. You could include that as well.
Isn't that a one? Is that a $1 million? It's a $1 million McCarrick smackaroos, right? Isn't it? $1 million?
See. I don't think I can. I can't really zoom in on this.
You searched for McCarrick dollar bill.
But this was an effort. Let's see. This was an effort whenever, before the McCarrick report was released. It was the lay people that were saying, like, hey, no donations to the diocese until we see the McCarrick report. Now the bishops, a lot of them didn't have control over that.
Yeah, it is. By the way, it is a. I'll share it. I'll share my screen here. It is a $1 million bill. Window. There it is. You can share that.
Okay.
This is from complicitclergy.com.
There we go.
Complicitclergy.com, and you can see it's $1 million. Where's the McCarrick report? Of course, they released the McCarrick report, but it didn't say anything because it's all filled with cover-ups. Yeah, so everybody should take that and send it into your... When you get your annual diocesan appeal, I need to get one of these, and I'm going to send it to my annual diocesan appeal. And then there's going to be a note about Traditionis Custodes in there as well.
Yeah, and it's tough. I've been actually really discouraged lately, because I think the bishops and the priests have lost their fight, like the good ones.
Yeah, they've lost their fight even ever had it,
and they're
not even ever had a fight.
Well, yeah, that might be true, and so it's up to us. I mean, we got to do something, and this USC. So let's talk a little bit about what we might see at the USCCB meeting. So I don't know. Do you remember whenever what is it? Bishop McElroy and Bishop Strickland went back and forth about pro-life being
Yeah,
the
there
preeminent
was
issue of the
it was
USCCB.
pretty gentle that you really can't go back and forth because they only allow you to talk for like 2 minutes at a time. You stand up and get to say something. Everything is done in these secret committees in these dark smoke-filled rooms where there's a lot of dirty money, McCarrick money that comes in. Here's union money. Here's big pharma money. Here's money from the abortion industry, and all that money is exchanged, and they have cigars, and they all laugh. They laugh at all of us because we actually believe that they hold positions of authority or whatever. But anyway, yeah, you're right. There was some talking at that last USCCB meeting where Strickland stood up and said, "I think that this is a preeminent issue, and I don't think this thing should be changed." So maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll see more of that. I'm not holding my breath or keeping my fingers crossed.
I'm definitely not either. I don't think. I mean, I think the bishops are basically. I don't think any of them are going to speak. I'll be surprised if any of them really speak up about pro-life. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. By the way, I did find out that there is a SSPX has a church in Chicago. It is
There you go.
Oak Park, Illinois. It's called Our Lady Immaculate Chapel, 410 Washington Boulevard, Oak Park, Illinois. And I looked that up, and you see how far away from downtown that is. It looks pretty nice. I mean, it does kind of look like it's on the small side. Oh, that's like 2 miles west of the center of the city. So it's really not that far out there. It's easy to get to. So everybody should switch over there. If
Yeah, for sure.
if Cupich strikes, I don't really know what's available in Chicago. There's Institute of Christ the King, which a ton of people gave money to after it burnt down by a fire. And then, of course, there's St. John Cantius, which a ton of people give money to. If Cupich strikes these communities, really, somebody should strike him. And I don't know if the people are going to take this laying down or what, or if these people are going to get organized or militant. But the time has come for people to fight back. And I'm talking about peaceful means first. But if necessary, you need to do what the Democrats do. I'll quote Michelle Obama, and I'll quote occasional Cortex, and I'll quote the Squad. You need to make life miserable for these guys because they're harming the Catholic faith, and it's high time that people did something about it. Somebody in the comments here was talking about St. Nicholas punching of Cupich, and that's what needs to happen at this USCCB meeting. Or if they see him, on the street or whatever, somebody should. I'm not saying that they should slug him, but if somebody did slug him, it would probably be a good thing. Maybe it would knock some sense into him because this thing is out of control. We need to take back the church from these modernists because these people don't even have a semblance of the faith. They're using all these structures to basically, again, advance an abortion agenda, an LMNOP agenda, a virus agenda. And it's time that we got to stop this stuff. They're already kicking people out of the churches in Canada. You can't even go to mass unless you've got the mark of the beast, a.k.a. the jab. So how much further do we have to get here? We've already got Pachamamas, in the pre-show, which all of you should subscribe via our Patreon, and you will get access to the pre-show. In the pre-show, we talked about Tim Gordon, who you were telling me he was doing a show. Let's go over this again so I can yell about it, how stupid what he said is.
Well, I don't quite remember exactly what he said, but I know that he was talking about how Cupich was referencing that the Institute and the FSSP may not be committed to the Second Vatican Council, and he said,
"Of course they're not." Continue.
He said you shouldn't let and it's not even, I don't know, but here's the thing. He said You shouldn't let the impact of the SSPX cloud the opinion or cloud the perception of the FSSP and the Institute. And I said, like, I didn't listen to the whole thing because I stopped it right there. I was like, I need to listen to something else because this is going in a very weird direction. You know? So
What did I said, this is what I don't know what Gordon said. You quoted me something that got me agitated. This is where Gordon and these people like Michael Lofton and these people they want a reverent Pachamama Mass, and that's what they're gonna get. They're gonna have all the union that they want with the mainstream church and Bergoglio, and then they'll go out here and you'll see crocodile tears about Amoris Laetitia and Joe Biden. Not a peep from those guys about the Joe Biden incident. Now, some of them said a little bit of something about Pachamama, but for the most part, they're more concerned about what SSPX is doing and Fraternity of St. Peter and trads on the internet. Meanwhile, Bergoglio and his henchmen are destroying or attempting to destroy the Catholic Church. And all they have time to do is complain about trads on the internet and SSPX and Fraternity of St. Peter. Let me tell you something. Tim Gordon and Michael Lofton, you and your sola obediencia types, you'll be at your Novus Ordo parish, and it'll be a Pachamama Mass, and but at least you'll say,
oh, but my Pachamama Mass is very reverent. It's reform of the reform. Sometimes we say the Kyrie in Greek, and they offer incense to the Pachamama every week. And so it's a lot better than Father Bob over there, where he just ad-libs all his prayers to Pachamama.
Because that's what's coming. You'll be lucky even if you get a valid consecration, because what Bergoglio is going to do is change the words again. It'll be back to for all, you know? It'll be this is the blood that was shed even for the Buddhists. Well, of course that's probably true because Christ did shed his blood for everybody. But they'll change. They're gonna do something crazy here. The writing is on the wall. Bergoglio's just trying to drive out the trads because they're the only form of resistance that's there, and it's not even much of a resistance because look at how Fraternity of St. Peter is rolling over. Anyway, Gordon is useless. Michael Lofton, useless. The Catholic Answers people are useless. How do we know? Because we've got open idol worship in the church, and they've said or done nothing about it. I'll give credit where credit is due to people like Ralph Martin, who's called it out and says there's idol worship. Matt Fradd, who said there's idol worship. Taylor Marshall, there's of course he's on the trad side, but mainstream people are saying, Father Mitch Pacwa, this is idol worship. Amoris Laetitia, heresy, because it allows the communion for the divorced and remarried. So these guys are not even worth the airtime that we're giving them talking about this stuff. Totally useless. I don't know why people watch them because they try to add something. They're like saying, this is fine. This is fine with Bergoglio and the Pachamama and the suppression of the Latin Mass. This is fine. That's what they say. They're that dog in the 4-paneled cartoon who has his face melting. Let me get it up here. That's Lofton. You could have one panel be Lofton. This is fine. Dog. Cartoon.
Well, some of their interviews were pretty good, though, I have to admit. That's why I actually like a lot of the channels with the interviews.
Really?
So it's not just like exclusively talking about their opinions, you know. But,
there it is. Share.
It's gonna pop up.
Video. Share screen. Window. Here we go.
And I think. Oh, here we go.
Well, actually, is this the original? Because his face isn't melting here, so let me unshare that. I don't know if that's the original or not. Here it is. This is it. Share. Share screen. Share window. This is fine. This is the original. There it is. This is fine. Okay with the events currently unfolding. And then his face is melting. So you're now basically here at the bottom. where your hand is getting burnt or your face is melting. That's where we are. And it's time. It's no longer time to say things are going to be okay. And that's for all the normies out there, people like Tim Gordon and Lofton and these guys who were essentially useless. Even Catholic Answers is better than, well, I don't know, they're pretty bad. Anyway, church militant, of course, controlled opposition. I don't know whose side they're on. Are they on the side of the diocese because they're so ridiculous? The devil. I mean, okay, they do talk about they expose some abuse or whatever, but what do they stand for? What is church militant for?
I haven't followed them enough. I haven't followed them enough to know that the answer to that question.
Well, Christine, you said they deleted. Christine just made a comment here. They deleted her comment whenever she suggested they interview Bishop Gracida on the Advocation and Conclave. You know that there was a really good interview where Voris, this was like 5 years ago, Voris interviewed Bishop Gracida, and it was a really good interview. But see, this was before. Was it before Gracida came out of the closet as questioning? I don't remember. But
I don't remember.
You'll have to go check that out and see when that was, but that was a really good interview. What does church militant stand for? The Reverend Novus Ordo or something? I don't honestly know. What do they have to offer anybody? Because there is no more Reverend Novus Ordo. It's over. It's all Pachamamas now. That's what's coming. Face it. It's coming.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. Church militant, and but I have the magic glasses, so yeah. Anyway, do you want to move on to Eric Salmon's recent video where he talked about the "you can't save your parish"? Because I listened to that and I found it interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yeah, that was a great show. Eric Salmon's everything he says turns to gold nowadays. And he released this show this week, and it was called, basically, you can't save your parish. And it's true. You can't fix your parish. Why? Well, let's see. He talked about it. Because not even a good priest can fix a parish. It's too late. They're all stuck. They're all stuck in the Novus Ordo regime. So the way he explained it is sort of like a diode. Parishes only get bad. There's one direction. Sometimes you get some reverse current, but it's microamps, okay? And that's the good priest who, after a long, long time, starts to restore some things. You're never getting rid of altar girls, and you're never getting rid of communion in the hand, even in a good Novus Ordo parish. So it's a one-way flow. And he said, you got a good parish, it can be destroyed like that by a bad pastor. And if you get a bad parish, you get a good pastor, and he's only able to move it like a couple notches. You still can't get rid of the big problems. So your only solution is to get out and shake the dust from your feet. As a lay person, you have zero power. Even as a priest, you almost have zero power. The guy that has the power is the bishop, and also the special interest groups, the people who read American Magazine, Commonweal Magazine. Those are the old blue-haired ladies like Susan from the parish council who actually run the parish, and then all the deep-pocketed liberal special interests who have their operatives there who give the money. He said, walk out, leave those Novus Ordo parishes, go to get the best Novus Ordo you can, or better yet, go to traditional Latin Mass or Byzantine.
Yeah, and I think he was more or less referring to families. I think for the most part,
that's
he was referring
true.
to families. And so you absolutely don't want your kids to grow up in that.
Yeah, he was saying because it'll destroy their faith, and then they'll go to hell, and then it'll be your fault, and you'll go to hell too. So if you have kids, you absolutely can't go to those bad parishes. Even the average Novus Ordo, you probably can't go to. So then that brings up the question, well, who can go to those? Well, if you're not married and single, why are you wasting your time? You have all day. Go drive 2 or 3 hours and go to the traditional Latin Mass or the Byzantine. There's no excuse. The only people who should be going to that irreverent, well, nobody should be going to an irreverent Mass, but the local parish, who's there? Old people who can't drive, or the people who don't care. I mean, they care enough to go to Mass, but it's out of habit. You know, maybe they are genuinely holy people. I don't know. I can't judge them. But they go there. They go to that Saturday night at 4 o'clock. They hear mass, and then they go to Ponderosa or Outback or Texas Roadhouse or Haas's or wherever it is. They go to the buffet, prime sirloin. They go to the buffet on Saturday night, and that's what they do. That's who's at your local Novus Ordo, and man,
Yeah,
get out.
I think, and I think that you can, like, if you're single, if you have available time, you can still participate in the activities that the parish has and try to recruit people over to tradition. I mean, that's one way to network with people. And there are genuinely, I think, at some Novus Ordo parishes, there are some genuinely good people, and so it's nice to network with those people anyway. Now, I have seen events, and it seems to me like a lot of Novus Ordo parishes are moving away from like the Bible study type of things and more towards like mainstream events. You know, that's what I've noticed. So I don't know if that's typical of all Novus Ordo parishes or not, but it's a weird trend. You know, like not a lot of theology, and like I think there was one class, there was like a deacon who was giving a class on baking. That's fine, but I mean,
on baking.
I mean that's fine, but it's, you know, where's the faith? Where's the theology in that? So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if they have those Bible studies, and it'll be tough even participating in those, because if you hear something that's a little bit sketchy or questionable, you're just going to be seen as an angry, rigid traditionalist. You know, I mean, I don't know what the perception would be of me if I went to some of those and I express my thoughts, because it's really hard to hold back. You know.
Well, you're only going to get perceived as an angry, rigid trad if your personality is angry and rigid. But if you're a person who likes to have fun and laugh, people are going to perceive you as a person who likes to have fun and laugh and just likes to laugh at the Novus Ordo and Bergoglio and whatever. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's ever accused me of being rigid and nasty or whatever. At most, they'll say I'm flippant or I'm just, I don't know, irreverent towards the nervous disorder or whatever. Or radical. I mean, but people like radical people. That's why people watch YouTubes and shows and stuff like that. Nobody's interested in milk toast. If you want milk toast, go down to like the baking club. Get that baking deacon or whoever it is that you talked about. But people are interested in, this is not fine. Your face is melting like that cartoon dog. And it's not fine. It is not fine. And so it's time for people to start yelling and getting excited about this. So, by the way, I agree with you. If there's good stuff going on at your local Novus Ordo, go to that and then let everybody know, like, look, I'm a Catholic. I pray the rosary. I go to Latin Mass. You're invited. It's really cool. Come check it out. That's what a lot of people do. And it works. It's not always easy, but it's actually a lot easier with young people than it is with old people. I mean, basically, old people forget about it. If they're over 60, you're never converting anybody to the Latin Mass if you're over 60. Okay, maybe there's some exceptions if things get really bad at their Novus Ordo parish, but for the most part, maybe I want to make that 65 or 70 the cutoff there, but I'm not sure. Eventually you get a point where you're like dead inside and you're just going. It doesn't matter. They could pull out a Pachamama. You're going to go there because
at least it's valid. I was baptized here and I'll stay here until I die.
That's what you'll hear from these people.
Well, sentimental value is certainly a thing. And really if they lived in that town their whole life and their parents lived in that town their whole life, and right now they're in their 70s. I mean, that's a really significant thing, because the parish was probably good when their parents went there.
Yeah, but let's look at the reality that when they say I was baptized in this parish, you say, no, you weren't. This is not the same parish that was existed when you were baptized, because it's a completely different religion now. So you weren't baptized in this parish. You were baptized in the Catholic Church, and this church was conquered by the forces of Vatican II, and it was colonized. Let me use that word that Bergoglio loves to use. It was colonized by the modernists. And for whatever reason, you grew up in this concentration camp, so you think it's okay, but it's not the same. So sorry, you're living in a concentration camp, and it might be okay for you because this is all you've known, but this is not actually the Catholic Church.
Well, and if your parish doesn't have any good activities, if you think that the pastor might not be completely, let's say, abrasive towards the Catholic faith, you could even try to start a prayer group. Like, start a very small, like, once a month prayer group, and that could really take off, I think. Especially, you could find out the people who really want to participate, who really want to, grow in their faith. And I know a Fatima rosary is a good idea. On the 13th of each month, just in honor of Fatima. I mean, Fatima's pretty mainstream in the church right now. Even in the Novus Ordo Church, it was mainstream with JP2. So, you could start there. That'd be a good idea. Put forth just a little effort, and it could go a long way.
Yeah, and you don't even need a cooperative pastor. I mean, it's good if you have one and he can put it in the bulletin. But let's say he's a real jerk and doesn't like the rosary. So talk to your friends. I'm sure you know some people there. I mean, after all, if you're one of these people,
I was baptized here and I'll die here,
then obviously you know everybody in the whole parish. So start talking to the people instead of running out of there to go to Outback or Texas Sirloin or whatever after Mass. Talk to these people and say, hey, let's do a rosary. I know Father Sweatpants is against it, but who cares about him? We're going to do a rosary, so come over to my house. And Father Sweatpants can go and watch reruns of Designing Women and Golden Girls or whatever. Who cares about him? He's a loser. He's going to be gone in 2 years anyway, because the diocese they trade priests. Priests are moving here, there, everywhere. They can barely get their bags unpacked before they have to move to another assignment. So do something, people. Even you people who are 70 years old,
I was baptized here.
Do something. Start getting people together to spread the Catholic faith, because Father Sweatpants isn't doing it.
Well, what about Father Video Games, who has a very heavy Twitter presence?
Well, sometimes those guys like the rosary.
Maybe. I don't know.
But if it's Father Twitter and Video Games, same deal as Father Sweatpants. Don't even bother telling him, and just start a rosary group. And if he asks, say, you're not invited. Okay? Sorry, Father, this is for lay people, because Vatican II said the laity have to do stuff. We're supposed to be holy. You go play your video games and wear your sweatpants. We'll take care of this holy stuff rosary. All right? Plus, you don't like it. Vatican II did away with it, right? Am I right? Hey, let's catch up with some of these comments here, because there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Let's start at the beginning. Here's Lee Harvey Oswald. See, he didn't die when Jack Ruby shot him. I knew it was a conspiracy. Lee Harvey Oswald, you need to tell us exactly what the conspiracy was involving the JFK assassination. Okay, so he says Cupich is a member of Lavender Mafia. What do you expect? Exactly. A return to hetero tradition. Laugh out loud. Yeah, exactly. You don't get what am I trying? What's the metaphor that Christ used? Don't expect. I don't even know. But I mean, you go look for orthodoxy from Orthodox clerics. Don't go to Pastor Jimmy Martin and expect to think you're going to hear Pius X or whatever. Patty says Cupich is pure poison. He follows the doctrine of Elton John. Exactly. Yeah. James Martin agenda, James Martin activities.
Here we go. All right. Yeah, and actually, I think I remember the quote in the Bible that says, expect surprises. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Okay. All right.
Captain Catholic says, do I have to get my sword and kilt on? Yes, because it's about time to paint your face blue. It's about time to get Braveheart on these bad guys. Okay? It's about time. So get
Yeah,
Keep,
we're in the middle of the liturgical war.
yeah.
I mean, it's really what it is. Okay.
Captain Catholic wants to know if this is straight vodka or gin. It's gin, Captain. By the way, last Sunday was National Gin Day. And gin is my favorite of the clear alcoholic beverages.
Soup and sandwich.
Soup and sandwich. I like that nickname, soup and
Hey.
sandwich.
I like soup and sandwich. Get your cheese sandwich and tomato soup.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a good Friday meal. Christine at 721
yeah.
says, "Don't put your donations in a legal escrow because they'll probably try to sue for it." That's probably right. It's better to just set up a 501c3 and have a board of directors who can decide what to do with the money.
Yeah, if you're gonna even get that ambitious.
Yeah, even if you do need to get that ambitious, and maybe you just, if you sign a Warsaw Pact, you don't even need to put all that money in one account. Just leave it in your own account and send an invoice to the bishop or an update every couple of months. Captain says the priests have lost their fight. Yeah, they need to leave the Novus Ordo. Absolutely. Get out. Like that, again, we might talk about the Polish Dominican priest who hopped over to the SSPX. If these guys had any semblance of the faith, it's now time to get out and join SSPX because it's perfectly legal and fine to do that. You're not like leaving the Catholic Church. You're clinging to the Catholic Church because where these guys are taking it is off the cliff. They're the Titanic that they've run into the iceberg, and they're saying, like, go out there and play the violins and dance. Everything's fine. The boat is sinking. All the under cabins are filled with water, you know?
Let's go back into the water, though. It's probably nice and ice cold.
Oh, the water is great. Let's hop right in.
All right. Captain Catholic, he says, I noticed our priest wearing typical Novus Ordo vestments. You know, the long flowing gown type. I hope it's not the beginning of a trend. Anyone else see this? No?
I don't know what he means by that.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, though. I attend a lot of Byzantine Divine Liturgies, so and Latin Masses, of course, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Hey, the next one here is St. Louis Marie. Yeah, first liturgy the Freemasons touched was the Easter Triduum in 55. Now we have a Freemason Francis is banned to 62 Easter. Actually, one correction. Those parishes in Rome were using the original Holy Week pre-55. So they basically banned that. They're not even allowed the 55, the pre-55 or the post-55 Holy Week in Rome. It's all banned. The only thing you get is balloons. That's all you're allowed. Balloons.
So what are they going to do? What are those, like the FSSP parish? What are they going to do then?
Oh, we love Vatican II. We're so loyal to the Holy Francis.
That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. They're not going to do anything. Maybe SSPX will show up, but don't expect, to get anything from those guys.
Well, I wonder if they're going to lock the lay people out of the church and do their traditional Holy Week, or are they even just going to take that a step further and just say the Novus Holy Week?
I don't think they'll do the Novus. That's silly.
They'll just lock people out of the churches.
I think they'll lock people out of the churches and they'll either say it under lock and key or they'll just leave the diocese for that weekend and go say Latin Masses someplace else.
Well, the church will effectively be locked.
Yeah, I mean, because it was locked last year too, because of the holy virus. So it's no different this year. Maybe the virus will come back again and not lock out everybody.
Well, Christine canceled her premium membership. Oh, Christine. You missed out on
she was canceled. She didn't get those special glasses. Highlight the comment she put right before that one.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
So she was banned from Church Militant because nobody investigated the abdication in the 2013 conclave. See, wait a minute.
Hold on. I suspect that Christine, I don't know.
Wait, is she an enabler? Is she a Nazi pedo enabler? I don't know what's going on here.
I gotta take these glasses off and put on my humility glasses.
Where are they? Do you have?
I don't know.
You lost them. That's because you're so filled with pride. You lost your humility glasses.
Actually, you know what? Speaking of pride.
Pride. Oh, wow. Wow, Elton John, Parent Ryan, they would be proud. If you come over to did you join the LMNOP side? I think you could make at least Archbishop in the Jimmy Martin Church. Are you sure you don't have a vocation?
I don't know about that, but I do know. And actually, getting back to what you said in a previous video, we need to talk about this every single time we mention Joe Biden. He performed an LMNOP marriage.
Yeah.
He officiated an LMNOP marriage. So when we talk about abortion, oh, he shouldn't receive communion because of his stance on abortion. What about LMNOP? Like, he literally did something that contradicts the Catholic doctrine. Like,
yeah.
But anyway.
They won't even talk about that. That's another reason to deny him communion. He did not do public apology for doing an LMNOP marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, well, what's the comments? Oh, yeah. Christine, I posted this comment earlier about Reseda. Reseda's what, like 98 now?
Yeah, he's really old. He's really old.
Yeah. And I don't expect much I don't expect him to participate much in this fight because he's so old.
Yeah, he can't do anything. Christine has to pass her road test, and then she can drive to the traditional Latin Mass. Well, that's a good motivating factor. Yeah. If you're stuck with a Novus Ordo, that'll really make you work on getting a driver's license.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go, Christine. That'll be great.
Hey, this is a good comment here. RR.
Yeah.
And she's got a car, so that's good. So hopefully you pass.
Yeah.
RR at 739.
Let me backtrack here a little bit.
So the guy who runs Where Pachamama Is says he wants Arthur Roach to be the next pope because he won't put up with a tenth of the insanity that Francis tolerates. Well, the thing about Roach is he's got no credibility. Nobody's ever heard of the guy. He was some lame English bishop that Bergoglio pulled out of obscurity and made head of the CDW. He's not a face, and yet he's not even a cardinal. Here, RR has the next comment at 740.
He will be, and Damian Thompson sure hated him.
Yeah, he thinks Roach will be an old school pope. Well, I don't know. What exactly is an old school pope? A guy who writes coherently, who doesn't contradict himself, who believes in the faith,
a guy who acts like a totalitarian.
Well, that's not an old school pope. I mean, nobody's really done that. That's kind of like modern popes do. So I don't know. Is he Francis
Well, I
too?
think with these modernists, they their perspective of old school is 1960, 1970. I mean, that's their perspective of old school.
Yeah.
They don't actually have a church history perspective.
RR 742. So he mentions Mike Lewis. He's the guy who runs Where Pachamama Is, and RR thinks he's funded by the USCCB as an anti-trad troll site. That actually could be true. He could be run by the Jesuits. He could be run by Opus Dei.
I would say Jesuits are most likely because he has their slogan at the bottom, and it's in Latin, which you're not going to post anything in Latin if you're a modernist unless it has something to do with the Jesuit church or the modernist church. Yeah. So people suspect he's funded by the Jesuits. I don't know. But he might, for all we know, he could just be funded by a bunch of atheists, because that's basically what they believe.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good one from Captain Catholic. Routine and familiarity can keep people stuck in the mud. They cling to all their inclusive Pachamama element of pagan hitches and don't even know what they are now following.
Yeah, just sheep. Somebody quoted it, sheep, sheep, sheep. So Patty McGill says that the good priests are going to say Latin Mass is underground in secret. Well, that's nice, but if it's in secret, how can you go? Because they got to tell somebody. The time for secret is over. Cupich isn't scared about being in secret about his heresy. Bergoglio is not in secret about having a Pachamama or shutting down the traditional Latin Mass. So enough of the secret stuff. Let's start doing this stuff open.
Oh, so we got 3 Patties in the chat. Well,
Yeah.
welcome. This
Yeah.
is good. All right. Nice to see. I'm not even gonna post that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. Christine Hurley says it was a couple of years ago Gracita could have done it. She's right. Gracita could have a couple of years ago done something about this problem, but
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Even when he started to think that Bergoglio was a fake pope, he was still already 90 years old. So what can he do?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think that none of us, very few of us, I want to say, realized how bad the situation actually was. And Gracita probably didn't realize how bad the situation actually was either. So
yeah.
by the time now comes, it's tough. I mean, too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's a clarification. Old school pope just means someone who will crack down on opposition. Yeah, I think that's what he means, because Pope Francis really hasn't done a whole lot about opposition except the tracking down on the Latin Mass and the subtle, not so subtle criticism of the devil.
The thing that's going to be interesting is if you do get a pope who will try to crack down on opposition, you're basically going to split the church, and that means you're going to see that Cordileone. You'll basically just excommunicate him, and his whole diocese will go. I mean, you don't even know how many cardinals are on the side of actual Catholicism. So, if you want to see a bloodbath, then go ahead and do that. But you're basically already. I think that listen, the mainstream church is already in the mainstream church in quotation marks. The Vatican is already in schism. Actually, that's pretty obvious for all to see. That Paul VI began a schism when Paul VI effectively banned the old Mass and invented a new one out of thin air. Okay, with the 6 Protestant ministers and all that, against Vatican II. Again, that's more proof. So against Trent and against Vatican II, Paul VI banned the old Mass and invented a new one. So he's Paul VI did a schismatic act, and then that was backed up. Now, I don't really blame JP2 or JP1, but now you have Roach, who we mentioned. Roach is a schismatic. Roach is saying that the Church of Vatican II is divorced from the pre-Vatican II Church, and that Paul VI suppressed the Old Mass, which directly contradicts this magisterial guidance and teaching of Benedict XVI. So Roach has split himself from the perennial magisterium of the Catholic Church. Arthur Roach does not belong to the Catholic Church. Bergoglio probably doesn't even belong to the Catholic Church. This is a schism. These men are head of a schismatic sect that is not the Catholic Church. And how much more obvious it will get obvious very soon. It's going to get obvious very, very soon that these men are not part of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, in this past week or so, it just really opened my eyes. Like, these people belong to a different religion.
Yes.
And it's not even. It's like, I mean, we say Novus Ordo Latin Mass, but it's not even. I don't even know if it's really that degree. I think it's more of just beliefs. I mean, I think more the Catholics are gravitating towards the traditional Mass, but I think in terms of the eco-theology and
look at Stowe. Stowe wrote that letter. Stowe wrote that letter. This is not even the same religion. None of this has anything to do with Catholicism. His letter was all about LMNOP and eco-theology.
Yeah, and it's just not. And then there's people, the supporters and the priests that go along with that. I mean, they don't belong to the same religion because what's the purpose? Like, is our purpose to worship trees? Like, I don't know. And here it is. It seems like Francis talks a lot more about how he hates the old rigid stuff. He talks about rigidity like every day now, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just like, okay, so, well, in between him talking about the climate stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's
I actually think it's a good thing that Francis and Cupich spend all their time talking about traditionalists now because, objectively, we only make up about, like, in terms of numbers, 1% of the church. He's completely distracted. So now he can't advance his modernist agenda of communion for the Protestants, LMNOP blessings, the USCCB. Maybe they'll get around to talking about abortion or something like that. Um,
yeah.
so
I'm gonna do my preview show in a few days on that, and I don't really know what to think. It's gonna be interesting, but the pillar. I'll save it. I'll save this because it's not really big news. But
yeah.
anyway, Cardinal Zen. You mentioned this, Ryan. Cardinal Zen actually posted this tweet
Did
about the
he
Polish priest who converted to SSPX.
did he offer any commentary about it or did he just like retweet it?
I think he retweeted it, but I can
Okay.
actually just check real quick.
Yeah,
And
you check that because I wanted to mention something else. Everybody who thinks that this is fine, everything's okay. Let me quote you, Father Stephen Imperato, a Novus Ordo priest. He's pro-life, anti-agenda of death, anti-LMNOP, anti-tomato Cupich, anti-McElroy, uh, anti. Let's just say he's anti-Francis because Francis has effectively left the Catholic Church. But Father Stephen Imperato is a diocesan priest who's never said the old mass in his life and does pro life work. This is me quoting him directly. The church has been corrupted by tolerance of abortion, sins against the sixth commandment, and a cowardice as to standing up for its own traditional and historic teaching. The church is dying on the vine. The Pope and the Vatican are no longer an unequivocal moral presence, and the Church in its hierarchy can no longer be counted on to stand up for truth and justice. So that's not from a trad. That's not from me or John or Peter Kwasniewski. This is a mainstream Novus Ordo priest who said the church is dying on the vine. The Pope and the Vatican are no longer an unequivocal moral presence, and the church in its hierarchy can no longer be counted on to stand up for the truth and justice. These guys have lost the faith. They're useless. They're basically just seat warmers now waiting for a Catholic to show up and take control of the operation. But they're totally checked out. They're the enemy, sitting in the chair.
okay, so here is Cardinal Zen's tweet, and he said, "Most Holy." So he basically quoted the article where he said, "I had only been okay." Most Holy Father, I was born 57 years ago and joined the Dominican Order 35 years ago. I took my perpetual vows 29 years ago. Now, this isn't a quote. This is Cardinal Zen actually saying. So I don't know what this is supposed to mean. It's kind of cryptic, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it looks like he was trying to change. He looked like he was trying to post the tweet or whatever, but he basically copy pasted the first part of it, and
No, but that's oh, okay, he did, yeah.
yeah,
All
because
right,
Zen
I
wasn't
thought
born 57 years ago, and Zen
no,
was never a Dominican.
I was doing the math where he was ordained 57 years ago, but I read that wrong. Okay, so
Yeah,
he just quoted the article, but that's very interesting that Cardinal Zen would do that.
yeah. So is
What's,
Zen now pro Dominican priest who jumped to the SSPX? I don't
well, quite
know.
honestly, that in Hong Kong, the SSPX might be the only like church that offers public masses at this point. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I know they
I have
did
no
have.
idea.
I'm pretty sure there is SSPX in Hong Kong. Um,
Yeah,
You'll have to
that's
look that up on
interesting.
your own. By the way, RR pointed out 804. Isn't there a big rumored Cupich surprise at the USCCB meeting? We did hear that. We heard it's about Lat Mass. I don't know if he's going to talk about anything related to the Moloch procedure, as Anthony Stein calls it. I don't know if he's going to spike anything at the USCCB meeting or not, but let's
Well,
hope. Let's hope
that
there's
wouldn't
some
be
shenanigans that happens.
yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise at all because Cardinal he did that a few years ago with the McCarrick report. How these bishops were all like promising their parishioners like, oh, we're gonna resolve the McCarrick situation at this upcoming USCCB meeting, and then come the USCCB meeting, the Vatican, like the day before, unleashes like some rolls, and Cupich stands up right away without being asked to speak.
Yeah, he basically takes control of the whole operation and says, "Oh, the Pope told me to do this here, and so everybody shut up and listen to me."
Well, Pope Francis just said yesterday that we need to wait, and we need to discern what to do. And it's like, you know what? There was enough time to think about it. You know, the McCarrick story came out in June, and this was November. And people were looking for action, and Cupich is trying to. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think at this point anyone who knows who Cardinal Cupich is, I don't think any of them trust him. You know?
Yeah. Somebody had okay, here's a good comment here. Patty McGill 806. The lady will have to save the church just as St. Fulton Sheen predicted. This is interesting, and that's probably true. I watched a really cool video. John, you can type this in the comments. It was on YouTube. It's called The Real Third Secret of Fatima, and the account is Catholic Space 365. The Real Third Secret of Fatima on the account Catholic 365. It's only 6 minutes and 31 seconds long. John, I'll even be able to. I can't post the link here because I can't get the link. But anyway, just type that in there.
Catholic 365.
Yeah, Catholic Space 365. That's it. Okay, so there it is. And actually, third is spelled out THIRD, but no, not the word space, but the
Catholic
character
space.
The character space.
See if I can delete my I can block myself, but I can't delete my comments.
No, I'll send it to you. Let me just call it up here and stop. Just give me a second. Oh boy, what is going on? 1 second, please.
YouTube's trying to shut us down.
Well, it uses a lot of resources here. Okay, I'm posting it to you. There it is.
All right, let me copy
it's in the private chat, so copy that. It's a video, Patty. Okay. Now, this talks about the actual quoted stuff about Third Secret of Fatima. And we're not talking about crackpots here who like had a vision or whatever. We're talking about cardinals who saw this thing. We're talking about Malachi Martin. Say what you will about him, but take him with a grain of salt. Apparently, Father Gomar de Paul saw some of the secret or whatever. But Cardinal Choppy is one dude, and there was some other cardinal, and even John the 23rd and JP2, Benedict the 16th. It's about an apostasy in the church. That's what the Third Secret of Fatima is about. Cardinal Choppy said that the apostasy in the church begins at the top, and we're living in it. So we, the lay people, have to resist these bad guys and fight against them and keep the faith whatever way we can. Find priests are going to have to fight with their bishops. They're going to have to take excommunications, just like in the time of St. John Chrysostom, St. Athanasius. I sent you this email to you and Brett right before the show started. It was from Orthodox Ethos. It cites, I'm going to read you and tell you who these saints are that took all these beatings from their bishops and were excommunicated. Here we go. St. Athanasius the Great, 4th century. He was Patriarch of Alexandria. He was deposed 5 times. St. John Chrysostom in the 4th and 5th centuries was deposed from being Bishop of Constantinople. Maximus the Confessor in the 7th century, killed by exhaustion after having his right hand and tongue cut off. St. John Damascene was anathematized 3 times, okay? St. Theodore the Studite, 8th century. Many others, less famous, but who were persecuted or killed exclusively by quote-unquote Orthodox emperors and bishops. And basically, you're going to be persecuted by those in authority. All these dudes who were deposed by other bishops, you know? So
Yeah.
Father, this is on Orthodox ethos. Father Peter here's this is Father Peter here's assault on sola obedientia. That there is a myth. Sola obedientia is a heresy. Blind obedience to the hierarchy is a heresy. Maybe we'll get into this. We're running out of time here, but I saw this in a comment box. Everywhere you go, people are saying like, "Oh, the essence of Christianity is obedience." Heresy. Cardinal Sarah. What did he say? I probably have it written down here.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it somewhere.
Cardinal Sarah is a
But
blasphemer and a heretic, if I read him correctly, okay? Because he said, what's that quote exactly about Sarah? Let me find it exactly. Sarah.
yeah, I had it in my EVTN broadcast where I quoted him, where it was like right after the Pachamama, and he says he said something like those who oppose the Pope.
I have it right here. Direct quote. This is from abysum.org. So this is Bishop Resita's blog. Sarah says, "He who is against the Pope is by that very fact outside the church. That is blasphemy and a heresy. It is a heresy because he puts the Pope above the church and above the commandments of God and equates him with the divine, which is a blasphemy. And it's also a heresy because it's against the teachings of the church. The one who's outside, who is outside the church is the heretic and the schismatic, okay? Which the Pope can be a heretic and a schismatic. Maybe he's already kicked out. Or the Pope, in a private opinion, can worship. The Pope was at a Pachamama worshiping ceremony. So it's completely false. This is what Sarah says. He who is against the Pope is by that very fact outside the church. So for Sarah, this is the heresy. For Sarah, being for what the Pope is for is identical to being a Catholic, which means that the Catholic Church is nothing more than a cult of personality. It has nothing to do with tradition or Christ. Christ isn't even mentioned there. It's the Pope. Sarah has made the Pope to be God. All right? And I said to this, if this quote right there, he who is against the Pope is by that very fact outside the church, unquote, unless that's qualified, it is blasphemous and heretical. I'd have to see that context or whatever it is, but it's blasphemous and heretical. What that means is because the Pope is not identical to the church or to Jesus Christ. And so now let me see what Patty McGill says. Against the papacy is what he likely means. Okay, that might make sense if you're against the papacy, whatever that means. But that's not what he said. He said he who is against the Pope. So the is the singular. The Pope, which one? I don't know. Are you for Alexander VI or against him? Or what part are you for? Are you for the philandering? Are you for the corruption or not? So somebody can be against the Pope, Alexander VI, and his corruption and philandering. Well, then Sarah's saying that they're outside the church. So it's that, unless that's qualified. Okay, so I hope I'm taking them out of context, Patty.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope I am. But somebody please set me straight, because that quote there is heretical and blasphemous. So he who is against the Pope is by that fact very outside the church. I don't know how you could say that unless the Pope means he's reciting the Nicene Creed. Then I agree. Okay, if by being against the Pope means you're denying the Nicene Creed, yes, okay, you're outside the church. But why do you even need to say that? I don't understand this.
Cardinal Sarah, can we submit a dubia?
Yeah. Patty wants to know where that's from, and that's it's from this article. This came out right after the Pac-Man Mama incident. And
Patty, if you're interested, check my EVTN news from Monday. I believe it's Monday. I have the link in the description.
John, I sent you the link there, so you can see that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about this real quick. We need to wrap it up. But this is an interesting thing here. Mike Lewis is now raging on Twitter against the Diocese of Madison. I didn't know that they provided jab exemptions.
Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, like a different religion.
Yeah. It is Mike Lewis, and where Mike Lewis is outside. I can't say he's outside the Catholic Church, but he belongs to a different religion than me and you, because he's into the LMNOP, he's into the jab, he's into the Pachamamas. That's not Catholicism, people. And even if you're devout, even if you're like Novus Ordo or whatever, you're against Novus Ordo people who are normal are against Pachamama. They're against the jab. They're against the James Martin activities. They're against the Moloch activities. There you go. Mike, people need to push these crazy people. You know, we need to drive. We need to make the bad guys rage quit is what we need to do. Now, maybe that's what Bergoglio is doing. Maybe Bergoglio is trying to push trads into rage quitting. Well, it's really not working because nobody's rage quit. I mean, the least thing you've seen is people going into the SSPX, which is still part of the Catholic Church, even according to Bergoglio. So, you know, like, again, you want to get the best writing about what Bergoglio is doing is from this Polish Dominican priest who hopped over to the SSPX and said, hey, look, I'm just following what the magisterium said. I'm saying this old mass. Now it can't be forbidden. So I'm going to hop over to the SSPX because they're not outside the church. So there you go.
All right. Well, it's time to wrap it up. So, Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, my closing thoughts are things are going very well in this liturgical war. We knew that there would be casualties, okay, but there's always, every time a door shuts, another one opens up. So, so far in the United States of America, where all our viewers are, Canada, Ireland, I'm not aware of any Latin Mass, like Fraternity of St. Peter, Institute of Christ the King's being shut down. So you always have that opportunity. You're losing diocesans or whatever, so you're going to have to go to these Fraternity of St. Peter, Institute of Christ the King. SSPX, God willing, they'll increase. They had a record number of enrollments. Maybe they'll go out there and help people set up new chapels or whatever. Go switch over to them, because you've learned Fraternity of St. Peter and Institute of Christ the King is not going to fight and resist. They're just going to roll over. So if they do, they'll go and join SSPX. You might as well get over there first. Go over there to SSPX. Alternatively, if you don't want to go SSPX because you're scared or whatever, go to Byzantine, go to Ukrainian, go to whatever your Eastern Rite is, go to that, and just be done with the Novus Ordo. Take a pledge, never Novus Ordo, because the Novus Ordo is against Vatican II and it's against sacred tradition, and I'm done with that. I'll never go to it again because it's not a product of the Catholic Church. It's a product of 6 Protestant ministers and a couple of modernists whose intention was to destroy the Catholic Church. I want no part of it. I ain't going under any circumstances. So, yeah, that's what you can do. That's how you fight, is you just check out of the losers ball game, leave the nerd table where they're eating boogies and talking about prime numbers or whatever, and go to the cool kids table, which is there's SSPX is a cool kids table, Institute of Christ the King, Fraternity of St. Peter, Eastern Rites. That's the cool people. But the Novus Ordo table is kids eating boogies and talking about like Dungeons and Dragons and anime. Quit that table, okay? Get out of that table.
I mean, isn't that what they talk about? Never mind. All right. But anyway, everyone, remember, this completely goes against what Ryan just said, but my church militant magic glasses.
Church militant glasses.
So please consider subscribing, or please consider becoming a Patreon at the $10,000 a month tier, so that you can obtain a cup, so that I can tell you where you can obtain these magic glasses that I got from Church Militant.
And where it's safe to go to mass, because I don't know where you can go. Every diocese has molesters, every religious order. You'll just have to go to the Church of Michael Voris. That's the only place. Actually, I think you can go to the Novus Ordo just as long as you don't go to those SSPX. Evil. They're enablers. No, it's not even good to go to the Novus Ordo because you're going to a diocese filled with molesters. They're everywhere. Well, Michael Voris says so. Well, you do what Voris says. okay, that'll be okay.
Sir-
But Voris is not going to tell you can go to a diocese because they're all filled with molesters. Can't
I don't
go to
know
a
then.
diocese.
But I do know one thing: these church militant glasses that I'm looking pretty stylish, and
Yeah.
whenever I put these I wear these glasses even at night. I wear these sunglasses at night.
At
Just
night.
like the song.
Yeah.
But I can see exactly where to go for my mass.
Yeah.
And if you want to be able to do that, gotta subscribe. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Yeah.
We are the laity.
And we will not be silent.